I am going to use this to describe to you another feature, which is, let's see, UVs, and I believe there's a button over here. Okay, so right here is a button that says if you click it, it'll keep the selection between both modes. So like say I click on this and I will know where the points are that are keeping my thing together are and how to dislodge this big piece. So I'm just gonna see that there's an edge loop here and here, and I think there's one in between. No, yeah, okay, that should be good. And I'm gonna actually, I think I noticed something. So let's try remove doubles, because I think we have 2 additional rogue vertices, those punks. We're going to go and do that to the rest of our low poly meshes too, just to make absolutely sure, because I don't want those things showing up. Okay, so I'm going to create that loop and hit Control E, mark seam, and actually to clear a seam, you hit Control E, clear seam, and that gets rid of it. But we want our seam there, so I'm just going to keep that up. And I'm going to select those, Control E, mark seam, and now I should have a more properly cleaned up mesh. And again, we're seeing some weird stuff. What is that? That's really strange. What are you? Do you happen down there too? Okay, so we have some strange artifacts going on. We're gonna be all set though. Okay, and I just want to make sure that this area is clean. So let us move onwards. Actually, I'm just gonna move this to see what's going on. Okay, so we have a problem there. Because we have... Oh, no. That's how it's supposed to be set up. Never mind. Everything's fine. Cool. It's just that that is a very shallow shape. Okay, so moving on. Let's move this back to our shape over here. The rest of our mesh. Let's now continue to unwrap. Let's go up here. And this is, again, unwrapping is a, ooh, all right, now we finally hit something that we need to actually work on unwrapping. And the reason for that is because of these faces. Actually, no, it's because it's a cylinder and we need to cut it apart. So I'm going to go back over here, turn this mode off because I don't like it, at least not for right now. And we need to free our mesh, move it over here. Let's put it in our second bottom row. Let us now Control Tab to switch to edge mode, and let's select both of these. And actually, let's select the bottom ones too, because we can just do this all at once. Control E, mark seam, and that should create our seams for us. Let's try unwrapping it again, and there we go, a clean set of geometry. Okay, moving it back. Okay, low poly mesh. That should unwrap pretty easily. Unwrap. All right, that's good. And what have we not unwrapped yet? The shells, the trigger guard. Let's do that now. Trigger guard. And that should also be very straightforward. Unwrap. I kind of wish we had more trouble so that I could show you more interesting things. Actually, what is that piece? Let's find out what that is. Oh, yes, I remember this. So this is a little rogue piece of geometry that we can get rid of. And let's get it out of here. Okay, so now we are set here. And let's check our textures. Go back here. And let's unwrap it. That looks good enough to me. Let's go to our icosphere. Select it. This is going to be interesting to unwrap because we have to create a seam for it, unless we try to do something insane like this, and it'll just create a triangle for us. We don't want just a triangle. That'd be kind of weird. But it would be identical on all facets, which is kind of cool as well. But I think we do kind of want to create a little thing. I'm going to turn that back off. Let's grab the one in the back down to here, and let's create our seam. Control E, mark seam. Unwrap. All right, our icosphere is now unwrapped. And what left do we have? We have the scallops, the little bit here. Oh, that's going to be fun. Okay. So we have, so the caps are open, good. And all I'm going to do is right-click, Alt-right-click, grab the inside seam, Control-E, mark seam, and this should unwrap for us fairly perfectly. All right, look at that. That's awesome. I love unwrapping. It's a really fun thing for me. I don't know why. It's like I'm getting stuff done really quick, which is great. We can just unwrap this straight on. Do the same for this. Unwrap straight on. This little bit. We could unwrap it like this, but I don't really like doing that. Actually, how does it come out? That's so I'm gonna go and Control E, edge, not edge crease. No, I don't want that. I want to mark a seam. Yeah. Okay. And now it's looking a little bit better, which is okay and great. Actually, no, I need to add this as well, and I'm gonna put that seam underneath. So we're gonna grab this one, Control E, mark seam, and now we should have a cylinder and a strip of polygons. So when we look at textured mode, it should be pretty straightforward and good. Hooray! And now to do the scallop shells. And that's also going to be pretty easy. Alt right click. And we just got to go all, oh, here we go. Now I can show you that little tool. No, it's really easy to do this. Alt right click. So we've selected the entire way around, mark seam, and we have our little scallop shells. Okay, what else do we have to do? I'm actually going to finish off the scallop shells off camera, so you don't have to deal with me making deal with me unwrapping each and every one of them. And let's take this one. So this is a cylinder, but it's got these faces. I'm going to delete those faces, delete the faces on the inside as well, because we're never going to see those, and they're just going to take up textile data. Unwrap, good little unwrap. Okay, and let's see what we've got. So anything jumping out at you. Okay, there we go. So this little blob thing, you know, we're gonna keep this blob thing in the back, and we're gonna go back to solid mode. And this should be a fairly easy unwrap as well. I'm gonna move it to another layer. I'm gonna unwrap it the same way that we did our cylinder, and I will see you on the other side. Happy blending. I'm just gonna finish it up with just unwrapping it like a cylinder. And all right. So here we go. Up top here is a part that I really want to have a little bit of detail for. So I'm going to just Control R to create that loop. Actually, I'm going to pull it in a little bit. I'm going to select this, extrude, scale in, and I'm going to scale in with X locked, so Shift X. So now we have that little dealy bopper there. I'm going to select all these faces, extrude inwards, and I'm going to extrude in a little bit more, pull it in so there's a little bit of a dome, so extrude in, pull in a little bit more, pull it out, and then that should be a little, should be good, and I'm going to hit Control 2 because I want this to be a subsurf level 2 mesh. I'm going to select my edges that I want to be sharp, and those are these. And I'm going to hit Control E and edge crease. All right. And now we have a little bit more modeling up here. Actually, I want just a little tiny bit of a bevel here. So Control E, edge crease, and I'm going to bring it down a little bit, soften it up. Do the same thing here. Shift E, bring it down a little bit. All right. So we've got our little opening mechanism for our ammo loader. Okay. So now we need to move on to preparing the mesh for painting. Okay. So here we are, and we've got everything textured. I went around while you were gone, and actually it'd be more like while I didn't exist for a moment, and I took the scallops and just UV unwrapped them all. I UV unwrapped everything, and now for a big huge change that I want to make sure that everything's going to be okay. So I'm going to take these again, and I'm going to join them to one mesh. I'm going to now add a mirror modifier, and hopefully that will mirror directly across. Yes, excellent. So now we've mirrored that. We've mirrored everything that we want, with the exception of this, and that should be its own piece of geometry. So now if I were you, I would save it now. Now I'm going to select everything, hit Shift D for duplicate. I'm going to move it over here to the second layer. So this is going to be our backup, just in case everything goes terribly, horribly wrong. I'm going to go back to our first position low-res mesh, and I'm actually going to select one of these meshes. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and in order to make it the active mesh, you hold down Shift and right-click, and an orange outline, a brighter orange outline will go around it, indicating that is the mesh that is the target. So now I'm going to hit Alt Control J to just Control J to join. And that should have joined our mesh. And look at this madness over here. Okay. So our UV map is now this huge, crazy mesh. And I'm going to show you that we can just hit U, unwrap, because we've already done our unwrapping before. And it's going to take all of our islands and put them in their place. And that's going to be based on the settings that we've selected over here. So angle-based is fine. Margin, I want to lower the margin a little bit so it's packed a little bit tighter. And let's just keep going a little bit more. And what you want is, because this is going to be a 2048 by 2048 UV map, or a texture map, is you want it to basically, you want it to have enough padding that we will be able to deal with the mapping correctly. For a 2048 by 2048, you want a distance of about 16 pixels between each. And yeah, you can, yeah, well, we're good. We're good on that. This is about right. So select everything, and let's look at our textile density. So I'm just going to give it another once over, and it's looking like everything's fairly even. And if it isn't, what we can do actually is we can select everything, go to image, or go to the toolbox over here. And where are we? Tools. It's not showing up here, which is fancy. So it's probably in here. Okay. So we can average the island scale. So it averages the islands based on how they are here. And we can then pack them. But we've technically already done that from the whole UV unwrap command. So we are good to go on this, and now our mesh should be basically set up for painting. The next thing we need to do is create a whole new texture map for it to dump its data all over when we start painting. And to do that, what we can do is go to image, or we can create a new image. Let's call this diffuse, because this is going to be the first map that we create. And the color can be black or white or whatever. I'm going to choose it to be kind of grayish so I can tell a little bit of the light information from what we're getting. And I'm going to hit OK after making sure that my 2048 and alpha, because I do want to have the alpha channel because I'm crazy like that. Going to hit OK, and it should generate a new map for us. Oh, okay, I know what happened. So diffuse, make sure that it's on blank, so it actually does the color. So I'm going to call this gun underscore D. My naming scheme is like the model name and then underscore and then D for the map name. So D is diffuse. So let's hit that. And now we have a little gray mesh over here. All right. So next time over here, it's completely black because I didn't save this texture, so it didn't update it to the gray that we filled it with. And to go into texture paint mode, click Object, Texture Paint. And now we see over here that we have our sweet little object, and we can hit T to bring up the tool panel. And we don't really have too much screen space here. This is a little hard to do. So we can see what color our brush is on. So this is just like in the sculpting brushes. You can add new ones, edit the properties of them, and they're very similar. You can also have a textured brush, etc. So what we're going to do is we are going to set it to about this color, or actually let's put it at the gray that we had before. And now we're going to start painting. And also the controls are the same for the brush radius, F, Shift F, and let's put 100% strength, and we're going to click and drag across our model. Whoop, and it's doing it slowly. And so what you might notice is that not all of it has been covered, and there's a shadow here. So that's because it's using the the direction of our camera to project paint on it. And also over here, our texture map got filled in. So that's pretty cool. What we want to do also in our setup is go over to our thing here. I believe there's a bleed control somewhere. We'll find it a bit later. Okay. So over here, we want to go from view to paint mode. And now we can actually kind of paint over here, and that'll update there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just wash my model out and just kind of cover it in this gray. And all I'm doing is just covering it. And to show you how it updates pretty quick, and we can both paint it over in the UV 2D mode. So it's kind of like we got a little image editor here, like GIMP or Photoshop or what have you. And we can also paint it over in our viewport. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start blocking out colors and shapes because that's what I feel like I need to do. In the next couple updates of Blender, we're going to see better texture painting tools, so it'll be kind of great. I'm going to hit Control up over here. I'm going to bring this down, and I am going to go and check out our thing over here. Okay. And if this works correctly, yes, okay. So if you hit S while hovering your mouse over something, you can pick up the color of it. And what I want to do is I want to slather that on over here on my little pieces parts that I will have in that will be in the purple metal color. So I'm just going to kind of switch back to texture paint, and I see that my color is not working out so well. What's going on here? Okay, so texture paint, gun D, paint mode. So you can just kind of paint over here now. And for some reason, we have to switch back to texture for it to update. We can just kind of paint this little area over here. And depending on what engine we're going in, we need to paint it in a different way. So we are going to choose between Unity and Unity and Unreal 4 right now. I'm just gonna check out what we got. I'm gonna basically tag all the areas that I want to color in that color with a dot, and I think I'm gonna go for more of a grayish color here, but I am gonna paint this color that, and let's check out what I did for the pommel. So I'm gonna grab the pommel, kind of colored in over here. I'm just tagging things now so I can identify on my UV map exactly what I need to go after. So over here, I'm just gonna, because this is a little bit easier to paint a large area quickly. And let's turn on texture mode. So, actually no, let's leave it back on solid so we can see a representation of what it's going to look like when it's shaded. And I'm gonna make this a little bit more accurate to take this area, and I'm gonna paint over this. But yeah, the new versions of this will have a fill mode. There's actually a branch out at graphical.com that you can go and kind of get that set up, which is kind of great. So we don't have to do this madness. That is this portion over here. And I'm just going to kind of fill in this area because that's part of our gun barrel. And just going to keep running around messing with our UV map. I believe this is our ammo loader. And again, to change colors, like to color pick like I did, is hitting S while hovering over the color that you want. And let's just keep painting. So, how are we looking over here? We're starting to look good. Gonna grab that. And our normal map is going to be baked in a separate channel so that we don't need to deal with that detail right now. I would like to use it as almost like an overlay and paint the pommel. That's going to be an interesting thing to get done because we have to set up our mesh properly for that. And let's just paint this a little bit and see where that is. That's not there. That is the, there we go. Here's the trigger. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of mesh the base over there. And let us find the last little bit of it. The other part of the trigger is over here. Okay. So if you can't identify these shapes immediately, it's from a long, many years working in this strange UV space. Okay, let's look at our mesh again. It's looking pretty good. I'm just gonna fill in this area because I know that our pommel is gonna be the different kind of metally color. And let's do that. Let's get it over here. And I kind of want to have a different color here, like a more white metal would be pretty excellent there. But yeah, right now I'm just blocking out our shapes. And what we need to do, very important, is image, save as image, gun D for gun diffuse. And I will see you in the next lesson, and we will continue to be coloring. So here we go. So what we want to do is we want to paint this ring a different color than what's around it. I want it to be a darker kind of color, almost like a rubber. So I'm going to just kind of pick this, and I'm going to shrink it down, and I'm going to click and drag. Now we have it marked. And I'm going to go over here, and I see my little space. I'm just going to fill this area. So now instead of having to paint over there on the inner parts, we're actually only painting exactly where we want. And there we go. And now we gotta grab that top part. So I'm gonna mark that one too to find out where it is in our space. Whoop. Okay, there is one bit, and that should be good. So I'm gonna embiggen this and just paint over it. Okay. So if you are going to be putting this in a game engine like Unreal, there's some differences in what we're going to be doing to creating this mesh, or creating this texture. So for PBR, basically you have to keep the what they call a diffuse map in there is an albedo map, and you have to keep it within a certain range of brightness. It can't be too bright, can't be too dark. Basically, it's a color map, and you use the other aspects of the other maps, such as glossiness, AO, and metallic, to really drive how your surface reacts to light and how much it absorbs and releases. So it's really kind of cool. And yeah, I think I want to keep these nuts this color, but say if I wanted to darken them a little bit, what I'd have to do is basically go up here and start coloring them up here, because there's pretty much no way that I could get in there by hand from the viewport without a lot of painstaking work. And let's find the other parts to them. They're over here. Little rogue pieces just floating about. And it's okay if you're overlapping them a bit, because they don't really need to, like, it's fine. It's actually helpful for the mapping, so that when this object is further away, then you will still see your details the way you want them, as opposed to bizarre colors blurring over each other. And let's keep doing that. And there is a couple more. So they're just hiding all over our mesh, or all over our UV map. And we'll just find them and put them in. There we go. So we've added the base color for those. And I believe over here, yeah, let's actually use this darker gray to color in the little tube that leads to our reservoir. And let's find our tube. Our tube is there. So I'm just going to kind of increase my scaling and clicking and dragging. So, oh, whoops, I did not mean to get over that. And I'm just going to go over here. Kind of spread the color around. Hit F to focus the brush. Just gonna clean up this area. Okay, so our little pipe is now colored. Let us get a brownish color. Let's go for a brownish color like here, so we can't really mess it up. And I'm gonna paint on top of my mesh over here, and then I'm gonna go here and fill it in. So now we can get all these colors really neatly organized. And I'm gonna focus it in a bit so we can have a sharper line between these two. And just kind of go over that for now. I'm not really worrying too much about this part over here, like where it is in space in regards to our mesh, because I'm going to be using the normal map as a guide in the future to color that part in. Okay, so let's get the scallops. Actually, let's get this bubble. So what I've been thinking is actually, yeah, having a little lighter version of this color, because this is where our power sources or whatever that turns our ammo into magic space goo or laser beams, or yeah, laser beams. There we go. This thing shoots laser beams. So I'm gonna have a little brighter lavender color here because your eye generally goes to the highest contrast of value, or it'll naturally go to, like, if say there's a lot of white objects, it'll track those before tracking the darker objects. So our eye will be drawn here first. We'll be like, oh, that's the awesome thing. But we also should add a little bit of glowy to the front so that you know that this is the business end. And what I want to do is actually shrink this down and tag this area. So that is this. We're going to go up here and paint this in. Paint the pointy end. And all right, so these are going to match. And now to start working on the scallops a little bit, I kind of want them to be like a brownish color, so I'm going to sample that and look for my scallop. Oh, they're everywhere. I'm going to lighten it a little bit. Actually, yeah. No, I'm going to make it a little, yeah, a little bit lighter, So I just got to kind of go with the flow over here. And as you're working with value, you can always go and change it, etc. And you don't have to do this aspect here. We can actually do it in our favorite paint program, either Photoshop, GIMP, or what have you, so that you aren't spending millions of hours doing stuff here. And for next time, I will have the scallops all painted, or at least colored. Only a few little pieces parts. So we have the pommel. All right, and I know where that is. That's over here. So I'm going to go look at our concept art, and I'm going to steal this color. S is for awesome. And you know what? I'm going to make it bright. I want to make it bright and obnoxious, because I love bright, obnoxious things. Okay, and here we go. Gonna paint my little pommel bit thingy, glowy crystal that turns this from a sci-fi fish weapon into a magic sci-fi fish weapon. Okay, so there we go. And I think we got a couple more bits. I'm gonna check our concept art. Yeah, those little bits over there, we gotta remember that we do in fact have them, and that we should paint them in. So those things are there to occlude the lack of geometry inside there. So we're just gonna paint them. I'm gonna paint them the same color that we have here. So S is for acquire the sample color, and I'm just gonna paint it over. So with this, we should have our base color map, and then we can move on to adding little, like, paint effects and things like that. But first, we're going to do something crazy. I know, crazy. We're going to bake our normal map, and we're going to use that to see where we should paint our gun stock pommel guard area. Pommel guard. No, it's a pommel. And just gotta finish up these areas. So texture painting's pretty easy. You just gotta make sure that everything is good. And what we're gonna be mainly doing with our painting is what a wise man once told me, which was basically use your texture map to accentuate the geometry that you have. So we've spent a lot of time sculpting this thing, to be sure. So I would like to keep that going by just kind of doing a little like airbrushing on it to accentuate the curves, and maybe add like a patina here to kind of make it pop a little bit more. Pop is such a great word. And I'm just gonna keep coloring these bits. You know, this bit needs to be colored, and I have no idea what this part is. I don't think it knows what that part is. That's it over here. Look for a little gray part. Look for a little gray part. I have no idea where it is. So with that, I'm going to just paint up here. Cool. Oh, and there's this little thing too. What's this thing? I don't know. It's going to be painted. Alright. So normally you should know what your geometry is. But these little parts, I'm not really quite sure on what they were. I think they were attached to something like a cylinder of some kind by the way that they're wrapped. And I'm just going to fill these things in. Because even if they're not going to be shown, I want to keep them there. Okay. S. Just going to fill in these areas. Okay. So if you have not saved your image yet, make sure to save it. And I'm just going to keep saying, save it, save it, save it. Because this, if Blender crashes, this information is going to be lost. If you save it without saving your image, this information is going to be lost. Yeah, so make sure to image, save as image, whatever your file is. And I'm actually going to go so far as to check it over here and be like, oh, hey, it's there. All my pieces parts are saved. I'm deathly afraid of losing my information here. Okay. And let us hit Control up to inspect the mesh, make sure that everything is where we want it. And I see that we've got a little strange thing there. I'm going to see what's... Oh, I know what that's about. Okay. And also this here. So we have a mirrored mesh. And this part, we can actually delete this and it'll be fine. And we're going to delete one of these icospheres. But so we're good. We have identified the problem and we know how to deal with it. Okay, so let us go out of texture paint to object mode and let's deal with that problem. Okay, so if we go to our UV image editor by hitting Control up, we can see that all our UVs are here. I'm going to switch this back to view mode so we can play around with our UVs. And I'm not going to save it right now, but you should save it right now. This is where we're about to break everything. Okay. We are going to hit apply on our mirror modifier. And if everything goes well, we still have all of our UVs here. But you should have duplicate UVs. Okay. So now that we have two UV sets lying on top of each other, I'm going to delete these points. So I'm going to select I'm actually in edge mode, so I'm going to switch to vertex mode. I'm going to select a point. I'm going to select a point on this one. I'm going to select a point here. Control L, delete, and that should have kept our mesh over there, so we're no longer symmetrical. Oh yeah. Going to click on this. Control L, delete this. Control L. It shouldn't be doing that. Oh well, our gem is now this wonderful shape. Actually, we can, okay, now I understand. Okay, so apparently we mirror modified it earlier, and then it just kind of became its own thing because it merged to itself. Because it's weird, and it's not, it's because it's not a floating piece of geometry like the ones that we got rid of over here. And if we go back to texture mode, we can still see all of our informations here. And I'm going to fix this icosphere by... Actually, no, let's leave it like that. It'll be an interesting reminder to the madness that we've created. Okay. So, now what we need to do, actually in our next lesson, what we're going to wrap up right now, because I don't have the time to explain in the next 10 seconds, how to set up the high-resolution mesh and low-resolution mesh for texture baking. All right, we're going to get some work done.